Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're diving into a topic that really kind of resonates with me, and hopefully, it will resonate with a lot of our listeners as well. I know that it is especially important to those people that are in our community who are passionate about self transformation and wellness, and that is the art of pivoting to chase your dreams. And whether it's shifting careers or exploring a new wellness journey or just redefining yourself in some way after maybe a major life change, but pivoting can feel like a huge, huge leap. And often that leap leads to tremendous growth. And it also leads to a feeling of empowerment and finally reaching those dreams that you've held on to for so long. Somebody once said, and I don't remember who it was, but they said, growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. So I'd like to start out by just kind of talking about what it means to pivot and maybe even talk a little bit about why I recently made a huge pivot. So a pivot is a shift in direction, right? Usually it's from one path to something completely different. And it might be that you're switching from a path that no longer feels like it's aligned with your dreams or your purpose. It might be one that no longer excites you or makes you feel fulfilled. And here's the thing, for many people, the concept of pivoting might seem really intimidating because it often involves a lot of risk. I know some people feel like they are going to upset people in their life or they're going to lose people in their life. And you might be leaving behind maybe a stable job or just changing your lifestyle. The women in our community are often going through enormous periods of change. It comes in small things like changing the way you eat, or it could be a complete life change that is much bigger and more profound. And change is hard. It's never comfortable. It is always the unknown, and it takes a lot of courage to pivot. But I think that it takes courage to pivot, but it's also really scary to think about what you might miss out on and the life that you might be leading if you didn't take that step. And so I like to encourage our community to think of pivoting as a positive, like a proactive decision, instead of thinking, well, what if it doesn't work out? Or what if I lose friends? Or, whatever that scary thing is. I like to encourage them to think, what if this is the path that brings you more joy and more purpose? So, how do you know when it's time to pivot? Well, for me, it was kind of gradual. And often there are signs, you might start to feel unfulfilled or disconnected from whatever it is you're doing, whether it's your job or your lifestyle or a relationship or whatever. And it it could just be a general feeling of burnout, or maybe you just stop caring as much as you used to, and you're just sensing that your passions are shifting or fading. For some reason, this realization came gradually to me when it came time to shift my lifestyle to something more healthy. It was more gradual. And for others, it's kind of a sudden moment of clarity. And so I just recommend that you listen to your body and your mind and those internal signals, because they're often going to be your best guide to knowing when it's time for you to change. Once you decide that it's time to pivot, I think the hardest part is knowing where to go from there. And because it's new, right? It is uncharted territory for you. And so it's kind of like going on an adventure without a map. And that's, I think, part of the fear that keeps people from doing it, because they don't know where to start or how to begin. And so here are a couple of essential things that will help you to navigate a transition like that more successfully. First and foremost, I think that you really have to set aside some time for yourself, uninterrupted, to be able to really think about and reflect on what it is exactly that you want to change. And for me, it was more, I think the clarity came with looking at more of what I didn't want anymore. And so I think that that's helpful too, to sort of write down or reflect on what it is that isn't working for you, or what it is that you can't stand anymore about your life. And then to maybe even talk things over with a friend or a mentor. And the key here is to clearly define what makes you feel fulfilled. Is it more freedom, more creativity? Is it a healthier lifestyle? Is it a job change? What, maybe it's helping others in a more meaningful way. And so I think that this reflection and sort of taking inventory helps to narrow down and refocus what it really is that you are looking for. So once you've identified that, I think the next step is to start building your skills and networking in that area. So for our community, I think that that is the component that is missing for a lot of women that are on a weight loss journey. And specifically, like, our community has a ton of women that are on GLP-1 medications, but these medications aren't a magic bullet. And so they are looking for ways to transform their lifestyle so that they can come off the medication or be more successful on the medication, and then eventually come off these meds. And so for when you've spent your whole life eating a certain way or being told a certain thing, like all the stuff that they taught us in school. I'm 51, and so all the stuff that they taught me in school about nutrition is false. I think their intentions were good, and I think they had different information available to them at that time, but it's not it's not the way that we really should be eating or living our life actively. And so for the women that are in our community, they're often in the same boat. Like, they got all the same information that I got in school, and we've been living our lives according to that, or trying our best, or maybe not caring and eating shit food and sitting on the couch watching Netflix. And so these women are looking for a way to change that. And sometimes you have to change the people that you surround yourself with in order to be more successful. And I love the comment that someone made once, that I think it was a YouTuber that I heard say this. The comment was, "Don't take advice from people who don't have what you want." And I just thought, that's so profound, because everybody wants to chime in and give their 2 cents worth. And I think that if you really want to change something about your life, find the people who have what you want or are doing what you want to do and surround yourself with those people. That's why I love our school community, because it's filled with women that are pursuing their wellness goals. And it's a fantastic place to learn and share and do this journey together. And when you are living your life the way that you have been living it, you might not be surrounded by people who are going to inspire you or support you or even understand the journey that you want to take. And so you really have to seek out those people that are on that same journey. And I highly recommend finding people that are further along in the journey, because they've been where you've been and they can offer you so much support and so much insight and tips and tricks, and just, what's worked for them might be something that can work for you too. So, highly recommend joining some kind of a community, whether it's ours or not. If you would love to join our community, we'd love to have you. It's school.com/skin solution, and you can try it for free. It's fantastic. The other point that I wanted to make is that you really have to embrace the process and not just the outcome. It's natural for us to focus on the end result because that's the dream, right? That's what we want to achieve. But the real growth happens when you lean into the journey. And so, like, for myself, I was always thinking, oh, well, I want to lose this much weight, and, I want to fit into X size of clothing. And, that was sort of what I was focused on. And when I really started to lean into the journey and start looking at healthier foods and better ways to nourish my body and better ways to become active or to challenge myself physically, like, that's the good stuff. And that's where you really bond with people. So that's why I highly recommend a community of some sort, because you really bond with people. And I, like, as a nurse, we laugh about, my nurse friends and I, we laugh about how quickly you become friends with someone at work. When you work in a hospital, we joke about it being trauma bonding because we're so traumatized by the workplace. But when you bond with somebody that is on the same journey as you, I don't even know if I would call it trauma bonding as much as I would call it journey bonding, because you're on the same path. When someone has done something that you can relate with so deeply, it forms a strong bond. And when you embrace the journey and you embrace the process, not only are you going to open yourself up to bonding with people that are in the same place as you, because there will be ups and downs, right? Some days it'll feel exhilarating, and then other days it'll just feel miserable and daunting. And when you remember that every little step is progress, whether it's good or bad, you start to trust in the process. And then you can celebrate all those little victories along the way. And I like to use the phrase failing forward, because it's not going to be perfect, and don't expect it to be perfect. In fact, the imperfections can be kind of entertaining sometimes. And so just embracing that journey with all of its ups and downs and flaws and failures can be really rewarding in itself. So I'd like to take a minute just to talk about my journey to wanting to get healthier. So I've struggled with my weight my whole life. It started really when I was around 10 years old. it could probably be attached to childhood traumas and all of that I'll save for another podcast. But I really started to struggle with my weight and really started to adopt terrible eating habits, and I started to use eating as a coping mechanism around the age of 10. And I remember hiding that I was eating food and really just like binging at times on things that tasted delicious, and but as I would use it as almost a way of self-soothing. And as I got into my 20s, there were times when I was a little healthier, where my body weight was more in the normal range. But it was always a period of swapping out one unhealthy thing for another. So, for example, when I picked up smoking regularly, I lost a ton of weight. But is that really a healthier lifestyle? I would never recommend for somebody as a means to lose weight that they pick up smoking. Or, there was another time in my life where I decided, not I don't know if it was a conscious decision per se, but just happened to be going out to the bar a lot with my friends and dancing, and I lost a ton of weight during that time. But I was drinking so much alcohol and not really eating very healthy foods because it was, the late night drive through at Taco Bell at 2 a.m. after the bar. And so, I had those healthy, or like from all outward appearances, looked like I was healthier, but I really wasn't making any changes to my lifestyle that were going to benefit me long term. And so when I was in my 30s, this was before I went to nursing school, I went through a period of time where I was just really focused on eating healthy foods, and I wasn't eating any added sugar or fat or salt in my diet. I was eating small, frequent meals, and I lost 45 pounds in 6 weeks. And I was eating constantly, but it was good food. It was nutrient dense food. And that worked for me in my 30s. I was the thinnest I had been in decades. And but fast forward to now, where I started this journey at the last year. So it's been not quite a year. And I just couldn't take off the weight anymore. Nothing I tried was working. I tried the same diets that I had done before that would work. Even in the short term, they would work, even though I'd put the weight back on again. But they weren't working the way that they did before. Maybe I would lose like 3 or 5 pounds or something like that. And my weight kept creeping up and up and up. And so I decided to start the medication, Mounjaro, and it was working for me. It worked really well. And it worked so well that I felt like I could still eat shit food. I could go and pound some Chipotle or eat Starbucks, Danishes and stuff like that. I wasn't eating as much of it, but I was still eating junk. And right around February or March was when I really decided that I needed to change my lifestyle. I was still doing all the same stuff. And I thought, if I come off this medication and I don't have the appetite suppression, I'm going to gorge myself on all of this terrible food. And so I started really taking a hard look at how I could incorporate other things and just change the way that I was doing all of this. So it wasn't sort of like an aha moment for me. It was a progression and just realizing I can't keep doing this. It's not this is not going to work once the medication is not either not available, or I no longer want to take it, or it's crazy expensive, the medication. So how long can people really stay on medication like that? Our nurse practitioner said to me the one time that if I wanted to continue doing weight loss, that I really needed to be the face of the weight loss. And it kind of haunted me. That whole statement, that phrase really kind of haunted me, because I was always the girl that was like hiding to some degree, just sitting in the corner. And so I didn't really want to put myself out there like that. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized she was right. If I was going to promote this lifestyle, I really had to be living it. And something similar happened to me when I went to nursing school, because I was smoking. I was a smoker before I went to nursing school. And I felt like such a hypocrite. I'm like, here I am going to have to do all this patient education for my patients and tell them to quit smoking. And I'm going to be going on my lunch break and going outside to smoke a cigarette. And I thought, that's so stupid. Why? That's so dumb. Why would I do that? That's like the height of hypocrisy. So that's what prompted me to quit smoking. And in many ways, how I was prompted to get healthier happened very much the same way. And I have Kristen to thank for that, because she planted that haunting seed for me to put myself out there as sort of the face of a weight loss journey. And so it's not comfortable a lot of the time. It really is uncomfortable for me to experiment with like all these methods of eating, and exercise is my least favorite thing. Or I guess I could say it had been my least favorite thing. I was always the first one to say, I don't work out, I don't go to the gym, I don't like to sweat, all the things. My business coach once said to me, I challenge these identities that you have of yourself, and this belief that you have in, or this rather disbelief in yourself. And so things like that just kind of sit and stew in me. And that was the progression that led me to where I am now, and wanting to do this for myself and document it so that hopefully it's helpful to other people. But all of that is to say that whatever is your motivator, whatever is your reason for doing this, start by setting small, clear goals for yourself. Like for me, it was just trying to get my protein in. I set that as my primary goal. And then you can build on that. Make sure that you're getting good support. Like really connect with people that have the same mentality, that understand your journey or where you're headed. Like I said, if you are on a similar journey to what I'm describing, we would love to have you join our school community. We're always there to encourage you along the way. And I think that it's also important to stay flexible, because a pivot isn't really a straight line. You're not just going to pivot and go do a 180. Sometimes it's pivoting and then repivoting and repivoting. So it's okay to shift your approach as you learn more and grow more. And in the end, I think it's important to be kind to yourself, because this is a learning process, and we need to give ourselves grace when things don't go as planned. Like in the context of a weight loss journey, we love to beat ourselves up when we plateau. the more I see this with our patients and the more that I encounter this myself, I just think this is our body's natural resting period or resting point. And so when I hit 235 pounds again, it took me forever to get past that point because, going and that was a big accomplishment actually, to go from 267 pounds to 235 pounds. Like, that's a loss of 32 pounds. So, of course, my body needed a rest and needed to adapt to where I was at that time. Not to mention the fact that I had been at 235 pounds for so long that my body had seen that as a set point, almost like a thermostat. And my body wanted to stay there. So I had to do a lot of things to get past that point. But one of them was to wait it out and to not get discouraged and to kind of keep pushing through even when I wasn't seeing the change on the scale. And so you have to be kind to yourself and give yourself grace when you hit those plateaus or when you hit a snag. So that's basically my story of how I got to where I am today, and it's still a journey. I'm by no means where I want to be, but I'm heading in the right direction, and I hope that you find the things that you're looking for and that you find the people that will help you get there. So, thank you so much for joining today. I hope that you have the courage to pivot and chase after your dreams, whatever those are. And if we can be of any support to you in our school community, we would love to have you. It is skool.com/skin solution. You can also find us on Facebook, and we would love to have you sign up for our newsletter so that we could give you tips and tricks for how you can get the life of your dreams. That's it for the podcast today. Thank you so much for listening. If you liked the podcast today, please share it with a friend, and we'll see you next time.